Lend your ear, open your mind, you're gonna learn a lot about your past and yourself you didn't know before. The past affects your future.
Greetings, fam. Those of you who have been watching my content, you know that I heavily preach that life evolved in the Americas. The Americas is the motherland. This is the land of ancient Egypt, land of Canaan. Now, what we're going to discuss today is the immigration pattern of how people left the continents of the Americas and they ended up in modern day Africa. Now, also, we're going to get into how they conquered us. Several of you have actually asked me, well, how do these people conquer us? We're going to get into that. We all know the saying that not all skin folk are kinfolk. So obviously that means that people who look like us, our own people, sold us out to our enemies and help them conquer us. But other than our skin folk not being kinfolk, what else? Religion. Yes, let's talk about it. Everyone knows that we're very spiritual, religious people. And so they use that to their advantage, right? How did they do that? By giving us gods that were not our own, by giving us forms of religion that were not our own. So let's take a look. Our invaders found penetration easy. You see that? Under the banners of religion. First, the crescent folks came. Islam, Allah, right? They're the first ones to conquer our people and put us in slavery. And then came the message of Jesus Christ and the cross. Okay? And so those that didn't take to this religion, they took to this religion of Christianity. And there were some in between that didn't take to either one of them. And so they were considered to be pagans. They were considered to be outcasts. And they were just kind of thrown off to the side of society. Many of you try to claim that those were our religions. You say, oh, the Ethiopians. And you have to understand that we are the Ethiopians. Okay. Moses, Noah, all of them, they were actually Ethiopians. Okay. And they weren't either of these religions, Islam or Christianity. And those of you who follow the Bible, you know clearly that Moses told the Israelites that they were going to worship gods of wood and stone. Clearly, the Kaaba stone is a part of Islam, right? And that cross, which is the wooden cross, is a part of Christianity. Okay, so that's a no-brainer. Those are the two religions that it's talking about, that our future generations were going to worship. Our ancestors accepting these religions, and you today also still accepting these religions, it does nothing but further perpetuate pale skin supremacy. If you can see next to the star what I have underlined, okay, and all this does is reinforce their dominance over us. So they also wanted to destroy us completely. If you look at the very bottom, they wanted to destroy us as a people. It talks about the changing of the names with the conversion into Islam and Christianity. Names were changed. It was forced on them. Just a whole new way of life, a way of thinking was forced upon them or introduced to them by adhering to these different religious belief systems. What is another way we were conquered? Because we're disorganized. It clearly states here that they knew, regardless of the number of people that they had that would confront us, as long as they were organized, they knew that they would be able to conquer us. Our ancestors were the type of people, they just lived life, you eat, drink, be merry. It was also our kind, sweet nature. We were a very, very peaceful people. We're a kind, peaceful, loving, giving people. And you know what the narcissists do to kind people. They devour them. What drew the Caucasoids and other races of people to the Americas? Well, it was rich in resources. There was gold, all sorts of resources in the Americas. Not only that, it was a great place to grow crops. I outlined in other videos how all of the crops that are actually eaten over the root crops mainly in modern day Africa actually came from South America. So as the immigrants, the pale skin immigrants increased in number, then we unfortunately were pushed to the bottom ladder of society. And not only that, the children that our ancestors had with them join their forces in conquering us and pushing us further down the ladder. Here it is right here. It weakened us by mixing with them, because those of us that had children with them, they turned against us. You see that? You clearly see that, right? This is another reason why we were told not to mix and mingle with the strangers, not to have children with them. This is a consequence of it. The Asians were very proud of their mulatto sons that had our blood in them. But look at what they did to the mothers. They kept them in slavery, but they emancipated the children that they had with them out of slavery. They weren't slaves. You see that? Keep in mind, although mulattoes were considered to be above us, there were many people that were, the Asians and Caucasians that were very fair-skinned. They still didn't accept them as being equal to them, but they did have many of the rights and privileges that the Caucasoids, the fair-skinned people, had. Before the Caucasoids were pushing us off of this land in the Americas, the Asians actually did it. And we were forced to either go elsewhere or stay on our homeland and be reduced to the same status as servants and slaves. Those that were professionals, they were allowed to integrate into the Asian society. The book even talks about how some of them were classified as palm colored, despite their real skin complexion. So now we still have those that were on the opposite ends of both of those. They didn't want to leave their homeland. They didn't want to stay and be integrated into society. So they fought. And a lot of them actually were wiped out. They lost their lives. As you can see here, many of them were pushed further onto the modern day African continent. As you can see here, they were pushed into the Mediterranean and down into modern day Africa. They wanted to get away from the subjugation, the ill treatment. For those of you that don't believe that all of this was actually taking place in the Americas, take a look at what I have underlined in red. It says, but the Africans had taken their firm stand within Egypt. That's ancient Egypt in America, making it two lands, exactly as the Sudan is two lands, which is modern day Africa. Isn't that where Sudan is today, with the Arabs and colored Arabs in the north and Africans in the south? Isn't that how it's arranged in modern day Africa? The lighter skinned people, they're up on the top in the north, the Arabs, and then you have the actual Africans in the bottom, mixed in with the E1B1A people from America. And please note, why does it say they went to modern day Africa? To escape pale skin oppression. There you have it. We're going to continue this video in part 2. We're going to talk more about how they got over there and where in modern day Africa a lot of the people from the Americas went to and are today. This is the book that I'm reading from. Don't forget to like, follow, and share this video. Modern day Africa is the home of the Africans who carry the E1B1B DNA haplogroup. I am not only going to prove to you that not all so-called black people are the exact same people. We are different people. And also to prove to you that the slave trade was total reverse and we were dumped in modern day Africa. Out the gate, it clearly states that the haplogroup E1B1B belongs to the Africans. Also people in the Middle East, so-called Middle East, which is really still Africa, and people in Europe as well. What does this say? It is not a major haplogroup in the Americas. Read it again. E1B1B, which is the African DNA, is not a major haplogroup in the Americas. I can finish the video right here, but I'm going to go further. Let's take a look at this map where it basically shows the concentration of the E1B1A and E1B1B haplogroups and where these people reside in modern day Africa. In the map at the top, you can clearly see that E1B1B is mostly concentrated like in heavy numbers, in large numbers, in the Horn of Africa and also in East Africa as well. However, the E1B1B haplogroup is actually spread out throughout the entire Africa, continent of Africa. E1B1A, which is the DNA from the Americas, is actually concentrated and scattered all throughout Africa. You see these two arrows? Which countries is it pointing to? What are they trying to tell us? Basically, they're trying to tell us that the greatest concentration of people with the E1B1A haplogroup reside in about like 2 to 3 of the countries in modern day Africa. I'm about to show you those countries right now. But first, I would like to show you how a lot of the countries in West Africa, there's a mixture of E1B1A and E1B1B. Nigeria is first on the list. As you can clearly see, it states here that there's a large dominant number of E1B1A people in Nigeria. However, they're sprinkled around, and it's showing you, it's breaking it down by their different groups. The Igbos, the Hausa, the Yoruba, and the Fulanis is showing you that Igbos, they have the most E1B1A haplogroup. Again, that's the same DNA of those of us in the Americas. The Hausa, it shows you theirs. There's like a couple of people that are Hausa that are in there. The Yorubas, I don't see any of our DNA in them. And then the Fulanis, it shows you their haplogroup type as well. So let's take a look at those in Ghana. As you can clearly see, there is a sprinkling of both E1B1A and E1B1B. So there are Hamites and Shemites in Ghana. Also, we have the DRC. There is a super large concentration of people in the DRC with E1B1A, but there are also people with E1B1B. It says also haplogroup A, and a couple of other different the DNA types that are sprinkled around in there as well. And last but not least, we have Guinea-Bissau. And there is a large concentration, just like in DRC, of people that have the E1B1A haplogroup type. And there are other ones as well that are mixed in there. So which countries have the largest amount of E1B1A DNA? That would be Sierra Leone, Angola, Guinea-Bissau, and also Liberia, which takes the #1 spot. Why is that? Let's talk about it. As I've stated before in many videos, we were taken from the Americas and dumped in Africa, literally. I'll show you why. The reason why people in Liberia, Angola, Sierra Leone, and DRC have such a large concentration of people with E1B1A haplogroup is because there was a society called the American Colonization Society. And in order to deal with their NEGRO problem in America, they decided that they were going to ship us over to modern day Africa to get rid of us. And that's exactly what they did. Throughout the years, they've done many things to get rid of their NEGRO problem, such as the Planned Parenthood places, to yank us out of to terminate our pregnancies. Thank you, Marcus Hanger. Basically, after slavery ended, there were just so many of us in the Americas, and they didn't want to be around us. They didn't want to deal with us. They didn't want to see us. And so in order to get rid of us, we were shipped over to modern day Africa. I mean, is this flag not a dead giveaway? I mean, this is pretty much the American flag. Yes. So basically the Liberians, Sierra Leoneans, and, all the other ones that have super large concentrations of E1B1A DNA haplogroup, those are our people. They're from America. Why do you say they're from America? Well, clearly, E1B1A haplogroup is actually the home to North and South America. As you can clearly see, the DNA is from the top of America all the way down to the bottom of South America, E1B1A. And then we also have the A and the L scattered throughout. That's also the DNA of Pharaoh Ramsey. So-called African Americans. This is our DNA. This is the home of us over here. And as I showed you on the other map, it's scattered throughout Africa. It's in pockets here and pockets there. But over in America, it's fully from the top all the way down to the bottom. So what does that tell you? It should tell you that we actually came from America. We came from the Americas. Because in another video, I showed you how the Haitians and Jamaicans have the largest percentage of E1B1A in all the people in the Caribbean and South America. I found this article to be quite interesting. Why? Because, you know, their version of history is that we were brought from modern day Africa over and dumped into America, which it didn't happen though. It was the complete opposite. So they're telling us, well, so-called Black Americans, you know, if you want to find your relatives, why don't you go to Angola? You're looking in what does it say, in Ghana and other parts of West Africa, but you forgot all about Angola. Does that make sense to y'all? Why would we look over there? Shouldn't we be looking in America? You see, they're telling on themselves. They're basically letting you know, hey, look, we dumped them in Angola too. Why don't you come over and take a look in Angola? Because, yeah, we dumped them over there too, not just in Ghana and Nigeria. Hello. Read between the lines. And so here is the article basically saying that a lot of them were brought into the slave market of Monsango village, and they were sold into bondage there. It was called a point of no return, just like the other castles. And yeah, large numbers of our people are in Angola as well. And from there was a Bantu expansion, and people spread out from there. And then there's also people in East Africa as well that have the E1B1A haplogroup. Who might those people be? None other than the Kikuyu in Kenya. They're the ones that are said to have the Ark of the Covenant. Okay? So they're scattered all throughout Africa. But as you can clearly see, as I showed you, they're from the top of America all the way down to the bottom. That should tell you that this is where y'all came from. Y'all came from America and you were dumped in modern day Africa. Do me a favor and subscribe, like, share, and comment. Thank you.